Kitchen follies. This is what not to do. Okay, we didn't set the kitchen on fire, but it's hot. And so, yes. So now we're going to turn on the fan. Great. And now I'm going to chop the onion that I should have chopped a minute ago. Or 20 minutes ago. You know, you never know what's going to happen in the kitchen. And I think the important thing about being in the kitchen is really being in the kitchen. The great chefs I know got to be great by earning their licks. This past weekend, I had the opportunity to assist one of the best chefs on the planet, who happens to be my dad's wife, with Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner. And it was magnificent. It was so good. It was so good. And the reason that I like to go help is because, in part, I like contributing my energy to this lovely, delicious food and taking part of the credit for it. But also because she doesn't cook by recipe at all. In fact, when I follow up afterwards and I ask, how do I make this? It's the answers are things like, cook it till it's done. Which, I gotta say, I have to ask in 10-minute increments. Okay, is that less than 10 minutes or more than 10 minutes? And then I set the timer so that I know to make sure that I'm really paying attention and really keyed in. This weekend, my job was the caramel custard, which is like flan. And it was awesome. It was so delicious. But let me tell you, my eyes were on those custards the entire time because I was not going to mess that up. Okay. Onion goes in. Cooking, sauteing onion is just one of the best smells in the world. It's an automatic appetite starter. So I'm just going to let that cook. While I'm doing that, I'm going to try the food processor out here with this zucchini. And we'll see what happens. I haven't used a food processor very often. I've usually had to do most of my own cooking or most of my own chopping. So I'm going to not read any directions. And I'm going to just see how this goes. So I've chopped off the ends of each one of these. And I've got my processor hooked up here. I'm going to drop my zucchini in. And let's see what happens. Well, what's happening right now is that it's not going on properly. Okay. Let's take that, try that again. Okay, so that goes like that. And also, still not engaging. Okay, should be locked. Should be good to go. Yeah. And instead, I'm getting a little red light and nothing's happening. So let me just see here. Okay, so that's my, aha, that feels like a better thing. No, locked. And I keep thinking that somehow it might detect if there's something in there. So I'm just going to put something in there. And that didn't change it either. Okay, let me put some of this garlic in the pan behind me. I bought the pre-peeled kind just because I know that as I get busy, that it's nice and easy to just be able to chop it up real quick. And you know, I gotta say, I don't think it's nearly as fragrant as garlic that you just peel. So maybe good for bulk, but I don't think I'm a fan of it. Okay. Oh gosh. It smells so good. You know, it's the funny thing about cooking. It's not that I would recommend doing this, but if on occasion that you happen to make something a little darker than you intended, there are a whole class of recipes called caramelized that fall into that category. And in fact, that custard I was talking about that I helped with this weekend, that we did exactly that. We didn't have exactly the right ingredients, and it stayed on the stove for a little too long, and it was so good. It was just right. So if you overcook it a little bit, don't give up on it. Just add some more oil or water. And here I'm also going to turn. I think I've got it sorted. I was locking it in the wrong place. So let's try it now. I'm going to go ahead and put my zucchini in like this. All right, and that almost works. Let's try multiple zucchinis. It will either make it better or worse. And as part of the safety feature, I have to cut these into smaller bits in order to get them in, because the food processor won't run without that safety bit in. Apparently that keeps me from shoving my hands down there. It looks like it's working, sort of. The only problem is that these bits at the top are kind of getting caught. Let's see if that resolves itself, or if I have to figure out how to press additional buttons. I'm probably going to have to figure out how to press additional buttons. It's kind of satisfying to just like really be able to squish that zucchini down there and know something's going to happen to it. Okay, here's what's happening. I'm getting purified zucchini in combination with big lumps of other zucchini. So it looks actually like zucchini pesto, which, you know, given that I'm putting it into a ratatouille, is kind of okay. And then also I'm going to be chopping up these other big chunks of zucchini. So I don't know, food processor for zucchini, maybe not so much. Dumping the blade into the bowl, also maybe not so much. But it does give me some liquid to roll around with those onions. Gets me started on adding a little bit more juice in there. While I'm cutting the rest of the zucchini. Of course, ideally, I would have done all this before and had all this fabulous prep work done. But I'm not an ideal cook. I like to get started and go, and then once I'm started, figure out where I'm going. Because otherwise, I find that I'll spend all day trying to get everything set up just perfectly, and I don't ever reach perfection, and that tends to mean I often don't end up making my recipe. In fact, many times, I might not even have all the ingredients. Now, I know you people that have cooked your whole life are accustomed to that. I know because my chef that I got to study under this weekend shared that with me. However, I know you people that have cooked all your life, you're accustomed to working with not the ideal amount of ingredients. By which I mean, maybe you don't have everything that's listed. Like maybe I didn't just go shopping yesterday and I don't have the eggplant for the gardener's ratatouille. Maybe I substitute something else. Maybe I put in something like some other kind of yellow squash, or maybe I leave it out altogether, or maybe I put in some sweet potato. Any of those things will work. They're just different recipes and different variations. So I really encourage you to play with this stuff. It's fun. And the more you go along, the more you play with it, the more you know how to salvage recipes when they don't go the way that you want them to. In fact, one good friend of mine, about once a year, it's a tradition. She ends up making something that doesn't quite go perfectly, and it's usually a dessert, and so she'll call it disaster cake. And invariably they end up being really delicious. In fact, some of the best cakes have been disaster cakes. They didn't start out with that intention, of course, but she doesn't give up on it. She just keeps playing with it. And not only do her cakes come out delicious, but she gets to be a better and better chef because she learns what flavors go together and what mitigates. So for example, if the dish you're making turns out to be a little too salty for some reason, then one easy trick is to add in something that's a little sweet. So I have used honey, I've used a little bit of maple syrup. It doesn't dispel the salt, it's still in there, but it distracts the taste buds in the same way that Coke does this, right? Or any of our sodas. But Coke is actually a really salty beverage, and then we add sugar, then they added sugar to it, and so it's sweet and it's salty and it feels like the very perfect thing to eat when you've been out on the beach all day and your electrolytes are a little low, and then it tends to start feeling like a perfect thing to eat all the time, to drink all the time, because every time we drink it, we just get a little thirstier, and it's so delicious, and so we buy into it, right? We accidentally wind up with the, wow, now I've been drinking soda every day for a week, and I didn't need to. We figured out how to make the food processor work, and we figured out that it works really good for tomatoes, and the zucchini was like, not so much. So I'm gonna put the rest of my tomatoes in there. I have totally made this recipe with the Pommy boxed tomatoes, and it's fine. But it does taste better with the fresh Roman tomatoes. Like, just fresh is just yummier, you know? But I don't always have, I don't even always have 30 minutes to prepare my food. I'm a busy lady, and I like to eat great food, so this is one of the ways we do it. Right now it's a Sunday, and I'm cooking in advance for the week. Oh, a little bit more. Actually, it's probably not. Okay. Yum, 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 yum. All right, taking this blade out, and then coming right over here. And really, at this point, we're all about the low heat. We're just going for letting everything mix itself up together. And you can do this with big chunks of vegetables, or you can do it with little chunks. It's really whatever suits you. I do like a little extra garlic, so especially because the peeled garlic does tend to be less fragrant than the regular bulb garlic that you get. So I'm gonna like triple the recipe of garlic. And I've never really gone wrong doing that. Unless, I guess, maybe I had a first date right afterwards. But in general, it's just all about eating what suits you and what you like. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go for my parsley. And there's a lot of different ways you can do parsley. I wonder how the food processor will do it. Let's see. As much as possible, I like to use nice, good, fresh herbs. And so these are all purchased at the local farmer's market. But if I don't have it, then I'll totally go dried. Dried has lots of flavor. Helps if I put that blade in first or at all. Here we go. All right, let's take 2 on this. Again, what it does great, and then there's the rest of it, which isn't too bad. So I think I'm actually going to put this whole thing in there, because I really like parsley, and I'm doing this recipe as part of the standard process purification program. And parsley has a lot of detoxing benefits. It's really, really great for the liver. It's of course super yummy. I'm just gonna trim these up a bit. And then let's see what happens. And I'm apparently going to parsley my garlic. Okay. So sometimes it's about getting your cooking done. Maybe it's not always about getting it done perfectly. And today is one of those days for me. I've had some, you know, life stuff go on lately. And I just want to have myself prepared as much as possible for a good week. So oh yeah, that took that time. That's working really, 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 really great. In fact, it worked a lot better with more parsley. There's just this one little stalk, so. The other reason I'm doing so much parsley is because I didn't have any of the other fresh spices that it called for, which was oregano, and I always really like fresh basil. I didn't have access to that today. Thyme, sage, those are all usually lovely. So I didn't have any of those things, so I'm going to make it really parsley-y. And I'm going to put in some dried herbs for the rest of it. And it really looks almost more like a, I mean, it's really green. It's really green, and it feels good mixing it. It feels like that's going to go well together. All right. Let's see what spices I have in the cabinet. Well, you can tell I tend to use a lot of spices, so I have a lot on hand. I've got some chives, but I think that would be a little too much. Dried parsley, no need for that. I've got some thyme, and I really like thyme, so we're going to put in a healthy dose of thyme. The only thing about spices is make sure you don't get too much in there so they don't get bitter, but there should be plenty opportunity here. Another thing you could do at this point is, I'm going to throw in a bay leaf, is you could also just, you know, open up a bottle of those fresh Italian spices or dried Italian spices. Curry. Or the Herbe de Provence blend would be a good mix here. Okay. Oh, there it is, Herbe de Provence blend. So we'll just add some of this in. Again, I like a lot of spices, so I'm adding in a lot. Oh my gosh. Smells really, really, really good. And the great thing is that next, really, I don't have to be a great cook here. All I have to do is just let it go. I turned the temperature down, and I'm going to put the lid on it, and it's just going to cook itself. I don't have to watch those caramel custards perfectly for the next 37 minutes. I just have to make sure that I don't do anything to really mess it up. Here I'm adding in some fresh cracked pepper. I'm really a big fan of both salt and pepper being fresh ground, fresh cracked. I mean, my taste buds are. The other thing about the spices, the salt and pepper, is that this is also a great thing to do at the very end. If you salt a soup early on, then the flavor is largely going to be lost. It's not really, salting it early on is more for the consistency rather than for the flavor. So I'm just adding in a little bit of salt right here. It's a good pot of soup, so, and I can make it more soupy or more stewy depending on how much water I choose to add into it. Okay, gardener's ratatouille. We'll see how it turns out in a little bit, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good batch.